Good morning and welcome to my session. And in this session, we are going to learn the literary devices, okay, which is very important, which is found in almost all the poems, okay, yes. So literary devices. Now, before we do the literary devices, I want to do a very quick recapitulation of what we did in my previous session. Okay, so in the previous session, like you see in the slides, okay, yes, we talked about how to read a poem. Okay, yes, and I told you that whenever you come across a poem, you have to do at least 3 reading. Okay, yes, in the first reading, you will get some idea. The main purpose of reading is just to get which is the idea, the general idea of the poem. And in your second reading, you are going to look for all the words which shows emotion, which is related to the feeling, or I just want you to look at all the figurative languages, figure of speech, that is literary devices. You can also say poetic devices. There are so many synonyms for this. Okay, yes. And in the third reading, since you have already read twice, in the third reading you will get some idea, and now you just try to get the main meaning and you just try to interpret in your own language what the poet is, what you say, talking about. Okay, what kind of emotion, what is the style of the poem, okay, what are the words chosen by the poet, what are the sentences, okay, yes, and what is the feeling, the attitude of the poet towards the title or towards the reader, like this. Now these are the things that you have to keep in mind. Okay, yes, so you must do at least 3 reading. Please don't leave any poem without giving it a 3 reading. Okay, 3 reading is compulsory, and you can read more than that. Okay, now once you keep on reading all these things, you will get some idea how that poem it's to be written. There are some beats in it. Okay, yes, so that is the thing that you have to keep in mind. Okay, now let us talk about the literary devices. Okay, yes, so literary devices. What do you mean by literary devices? Okay, yes. So I have here some pictures. I just want you to take your time and look at these devices, or in other terms you can say tools. Okay, literary devices or tools. What are these tools? On the left side you will find some tools, and who use these tools? Okay, if you look at this, these tools are used by the carpenters. Okay, the carpenters has to depend on these tools. Okay, the more tools, the more he is familiar with these tools, the working and uses, and the better work he or she will be able to produce. You got it? So these are the devices used by the carpenters. Okay, with the help of these devices, the carpenters will come up with a very beautiful masterpiece. Okay, yes. Now without this tool, which a carpenter can hardly come up with something amazing. You got it? Okay, yes. So I want you to look at the other picture. There are some tools, there are some devices. Can you guess which profession use these tools? Yes, okay, these are the tools related to the barbers. You got it? Someone who cuts your hair. Now, because of these tools used by the barbers, they come up with different hairstyles. Okay, yes. Now, with the help of this tool, the barber's work will be better. So, these tools are used by this profession. Okay, the carpenters, they use these tools, and the barbers, they use these tools. Okay, yes. So, tools play very important role. Because of these tools, which we got to see different which are masterpiece. Okay, yes, the barbers, they come up with different styles, hairstyle. You might have visited so many barbers, saloon. Okay, yes, and then you which you can come up with which is different kind of hairstyle. And carpenter, very much related to our day-to-day life. You make table, bed, which is a roll top desk, so many things. Okay, now the carpenters and these barbers, they use these tools. Now my question is, now suppose if you are a poet, your profession, okay, you are writing, you are, what should I say, writing a poem. Yes, that is also a profession. Okay, you have to produce one piece of work, or you have to come up with some masterpiece, you know. Okay, so for that, do you think the poets, just like the barber and carpenter we just talked, do you think the poets also need tools? If yes, what type of tools? You have already seen the tools used by the barber, and you have already seen the tools used by the carpenter. Now, what type of tool do you think the poets use in order to come up with a very beautiful poem like this? Yes, so the poets, they use a very different type of tool. Okay, if you look at this tool, these tools are either made of a wood or what should I say, other materials, plastic or iron like this. But the tools used by these poets, these tools are not made of all these materials. In fact, these tools are made out of the letters. You got it? So the tools used by poets, they are made up of letters, or you can say words. Okay, and that's why the tools used by these poets are called literary devices. Okay, if you look at the word literary, it derives from the letter. So these tools are used by the poet, and that's why these tools are called literary devices. So let us just look at the definition of what literary device is. Literary devices are the devices or tools used by the authors or poets to fulfill their different purposes. Their devices or tools are made up of letters. That's why literary. You got it? Okay, yes, this is an adjective. So these tools are also called, what is the other name of this literary device? Sometimes in your examination, the teacher, okay, the examiner may ask you identify the poetic devices used by the poet, or identify the literary devices used by the poet, or you can say what is the figurative language, what is the figure of language used in that particular stanza. Now, whatever we say, these are literary devices. Did you understand? Okay, yes. So there are so many literary devices. Okay, by now you have come across so many poems. You have started learning poem and nursery rhyme from your, what should I say, lower classes, and so you must be familiar with these literary devices. Okay, now these are the devices which will really help you in your life. For example, when you learn poem, okay, learning that poem, understanding that poem, I'm not saying that that is not. Understanding that poem is important, but you have to come across so many poems. Okay, class 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, college, you will learn so many poems. But these poems, which they may be for some comprehension test, for your examination, but from this poem, what do we have to, what you have to take is, you have to take the devices. Because these devices, then you can apply, then you can use these devices and come up with your own, what should I say, the poem. Okay, yes. So understanding a poem and memorizing all these things, these are important for some extent. But what you have to do is, you have to take out the devices. And it is these devices that will help you in your life. Okay, when you come up with your own poem, you have to use these devices. Okay, even if you are not carpenter, you have to keep all this hammer and saw and axe, all these things, because this will be handy, this will be useful in your own life. Likewise, whenever you come across poem, from the poem, what you have to get, you have to take the literary devices and try to collect as many literary devices as you can, so that at a proper time, you can, what should I say, use these devices in your own writing, whether it is a prose or whether it is a poem. It doesn't mean that literary device should only be used when you write poem. Okay, in stories, even if you are writing one narrative, you can also use the literary devices. Okay, now did you understand what literary device is? Devices are very important. These devices, which are very helpful for the poets. Okay, yes. Now what are these literary devices? Okay, now these are some of the literary devices. Okay, yes, from your lower class to the senior, these are not just the only literary device we have. Okay, now when you go to higher classes, for example, you go to college and you do your MA and you do your English honors and MA, all these things, now you will be introduced to some more literary devices. Now these are the literary devices which are relevant for class 5 to 8. Okay, so in the next session, okay, and tomorrow also, we are going to stick to these literary devices one by one. Did you understand? Okay, now what are the literary devices? We have rhythm, onomatopoeia, rhyme, simile, metaphor, personification, alliteration, repetition, symbolism, imagery. Now these are, what should I say, literary devices. And when I say literary devices, okay, these devices are used by the poet. Okay, yes, and you will definitely find these literary devices. These are figure of speech. I told you. What is a figure of speech? Figure of speech is a language which has got a different meaning. Do you remember in my first session, I just used one figure of speech. For example, if someone is very kind to you and if you are very much indebted, grateful to that person, instead of writing lengthy essay or paragraph, you just can come up with, you are my oxygen. Okay, so in that simple sentence, you have spoken a volume. Okay, yes. So that is the thing. Now, you must have, which is say, you must be familiar with different types of songs. We have got Hindi song, we have got Korean song, Japanese, Chinese, Tibetan, so many things, and you know different kind of songs. Now, whenever you come across one song, now instead of just looking through the, which is say, the rhythm and the lyrics of the, which is song, so these songs have got lots and lots of literary device. These songs have lots and lots of figure of speech use. Okay, yes. So it's very important for you to not just memorize the lyrics, but you just, what should I say, consider that small song as a piece of poem and try to identify all the literary devices used. Okay, yes. For example, in Tibetan song, you know, okay, the song that I used to hum normally, it's, yeah, Pema Dave Zende Ke. Yes, have you heard that song? Yes. Now, if you listen to that song, you also look through the lyrics. Okay, I told you these songs have got lots and lots of poetic devices. Pema Dave Zende. Okay, just comparing. The singer is comparing the person who has written that lyric, it's comparing that girl, okay, yes, just like a Pema, Lotus, like this. So likewise, if you talk about Hindi, if you talk about Tibetan, or whenever you come across any song, okay, I want you to look at all the literary devices, different figure of speech, okay, yes, Sleeping Child, okay, yes, the Milky Way upon the heavens, twinkling just for you. And Mr. Moon, he came by to say good night to you. Okay, yes. So that is the song, okay, that I used to take example. So Mr. Moon, he came by to say good night. So do you think the Mr. Moon, okay, who is not a human being, would come down and say good night to you? No. So you just look at, whenever you come across any song, you just try to look for these beautiful sentences, beautiful figure of speech, beautiful, what should I say, poetic devices. Okay, so I've just given you one example of Tibetan and English. Okay, and then you can also talk about Hindi. You know, so many Hindi songs. There are so many literary devices used in these songs. Okay, yes. So that is the thing. Now come back to the lesson. So I've already shown you different kind of literary devices. So in the following session, Ketensula and I'll be, what should I say, discussing all these literary devices one by one. Now in this present session, I'm going to discuss about two literary devices, which are meant for class 5 to 6, okay, and class 7 and 8 also, they also have these literary devices in their poems, okay, yes. So let us see the literary device. First one is rhythm. Okay, yes. So Getenchula has already taken one session during which she explained about the rhythm, which is a beat. Okay, so what is a rhythm? Let us try to see. Rhythm is the most common literary device we find in a poem. Just like we have beat in a song. In song we have got beat. Okay, likewise in a poem we have got that beat, which is also called the rhythm. And now what is a rhythm? Rhythm is created by a pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables in line or in a verse. You got it? So that is a rhythm. Rhythm is just like a beat. Okay, yes. Now I've just given you some one example. Okay, yes, which is very much familiar. Okay, when we were in small class, when we were in lower classes, most of the poems that we study are all based on the rhyme, where there is a proper beat. Okay, yes. For example, this one, Joni, Joni, yes, Papa, eating sugar, no, Papa. Telling lies, no, Papa. Open your mouth, ha, ha, ha. So if you look at this poem, there is some kind of a proper rhythm. There is a beat. It seems that I'm just singing a song. So this poem, that is the literary device used by the poet. You see, okay, the poet has come up with one poem, and that poem came out very beautiful. Why? Because he used one tool. He used one device. What is that device that the poet normally use? Okay, yes. So that is a rhythm. Okay, so rhythm, it's which is one of the most common literary device. So when I say rhythm, you must be thinking about all the nursery rhymes you have learned. Okay, Joni, Joni, I've already given you. We have got Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, How I Wonder What You Are, Up above the world so high, like a diamond. You see, do you see some kind of beat, rhythm? Okay, so that beat, that rhythm did not come all of a sudden. The poet has spent lots and lots of time, using that device. You got it? So if you have, using one, saw, saw, the instrument that we use to cut wood, isn't it? So if you're using that saw for the first time, you might have experienced it's very difficult. Okay, now once, if you keep on using that again and again, then you get familiar. Okay, likewise the poets, when they use this literary device, they try to use many times, and then they get used to this, and then that's why they come up with these beautiful poem. Okay, yes. And what are the other poems? Okay, we have Getenchula has already given you Jack and Jill went up the hill, okay, to fetch a pail of water. You see this kind of beat. And now if you keep that, if you take one small nursery rhyme as an example, and you can come up with different language. Now, even in our Tibetan, now we have got, okay, yes, tashi tashi, la pa la, chemakara chebe, no pala, me pala, chumamashe roa, and me pala, and ka yadang, she yadang, and ha ha ha. You see? Okay, yes. We have got also row your boat. Okay, yes. We have also got this same nursery rhyme in Tibetan also. Okay. Tang, tang, kova tang, chunala kova tang. Kiwujene, 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 mi lam tang. Okay, yes. So the rhythm is maintained. Okay, yes. So this is the very common literary device used by the poet, and especially for all the poems which are taught in the lower classes. Okay, yes. So here, before I move on to the next, I'm just going to, make you familiar with one word. Okay, what is that word? We call it manta text. So this is the thing that I have been telling my student, okay, yes, in my class, the importance of this manta text, or you can also say poetry anthology. Okay, anthology, these are the words that you should be familiar. So what do you mean by manta text? Now, if you look at this manta, what do you, in layman's term, what do you mean by mentor? Mentor is just like a teacher. You got it? He's my mentor means he's a teacher. Now here we don't have any human teacher. We have got a text which acts as a teacher for you. Okay? So these texts are called mentor texts. Now as a student, it's very important for you to know this word mentor text. Even if you are asked to write a diary, what do you have to do? You just look for one what should I say, a very good sample diary, and you just keep it in your notebook. Why? Because this will act as a mentor text for you. Whenever a teacher tells you to write a diary, you just look at that and you just try to get the same structure, and then you'll easily write. So we can use this mentor text anything. If you are asked to write one formal letter, you just try to get one good example of a letter and put it in your notebook, which will also work as a teacher for you. Okay, the teacher may not be there with you all the time. So this text will help you. Now these texts are called mentor texts. Okay, yes. Now for example, okay, yes. Joni, 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 Joni. Okay, Joni, Joni. Yes, pa, pa. Eating sugar. No, pa, pa. Okay, yes. Now, for those who are, which is beginners, okay, yes. Now, for example, this can be your mentor text. Okay. Now, if you are not familiar with writing a poem, now first what you have to do, you have to take example of one very beautiful poem, which is just like a sample. Okay, yes. This is a very good nursery rhyme. Okay, yes. Now what you do, you just study this poem, Joni, Joni, yes, Papa. You just try to see the rhythm. What is the rhythm? And on the basis of that thing, now this is a good poem, and instead of these words, you can replace the word, and then it really becomes a mentor text. So, Joni, Joni, okay, Tashi, Tashi, for example, Tashi, Tashi. Well, okay, you can also write Tashi, Tashi. Yes, Father, La, Pa, Las. You see, so what I'm doing, I'm just maintaining the same rhythm, and I'm also taking one mentor text. I will never go wrong. Why? I will never go wrong. Why? Because I've got one mentor text, which is very beautiful rhyme, which has got everything. So this is how you begin when you write a poem. Okay, if you don't know how to write a poem, first you just take out one simple poem and take it as your mentor, take it as your teacher, and then try to change the word. So that's why we have got so many poems like this. Okay, I told you, tang, tang, kovadang. So ro, ro. Even if you write, you have to maintain the same rhythm. This is how we would do. Okay, so please keep in mind that word, the mentor text. Okay, yes. Now let us move further. Okay, yes. Okay, so I told you rhythm and beat, it's same. And I also told you about what is a rhythm, how do we get the rhythm? We get the rhythm because of the pattern of stress and unstress. Okay, so what is unstress and what is stress? Actually, Getenchula has already done that, and I will also give you some example what is stress and unstress. Okay, yes. Now, before that, I want you to look at this two sample. Okay, you just try to see the rhythm maintained. The first one is the Brook from class 9. Okay, yes, a very beautiful poem. I come from haunts of hoot and hern. I make a sudden sally and sparkle out among the fern to beaker down a valley. Now, if you look at this, okay, you see that the poet has maintained some kind of a rhythm. Okay, it makes the poem very, what should I say, pleasing to your ears. Okay, so I told you, you will identify the rhythm if you keep on reading the poem, and then you will get a aha. So that's a thing. You call it aha moment. Okay, you will get the aha moment. Okay, when you keep on reading the poem. And on the other side, we have got that famous twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Okay, yes. So you see this kind of what should I say, rhythm, it's maintained. Okay, now there are so many other poems where we have this rhythm or the beat used. Okay, yes. So what about the stress and what should I say, unstressed word? Okay, yes. So just an example. Okay, yes. This is, can you pronounce this? This is dog. Okay, so dog means there is only one sound, there is only one syllable. So we call it syllable. So syllable means the, what should I say, the sound. Okay, the sound in one particular word. Okay. Can you read this? Yes, this is table. Now, how many syllables are there? There are 2. Dog, there is only 1 syllable. Dog. Chair. Okay, yes. Now, table, there are 2 syllables. Okay, yes. So sometimes we come across, our teachers, they used to tell us, whenever you want to see the syllable in a word, what you have to do, you have to put your, hand below your chin and then read the word. Okay, how many times your chin touches your hand? Okay, and then you will get some idea. Okay, dog. My chin touches only 1, so there is only 1 syllable. Okay, table. Okay, yes, my chin touches hand twice, so that means there are 3 syllables. Okay, yes, judgmental. Okay, judgmental. My chin touches 3, so that means there are 3 syllables. Now, did you get the meaning of syllable? Okay, yes. So when we have 2 syllable, okay, table. Now, what you have to do is 1 syllable will remain unstressed and the other syllable will remain stressed. Okay, where we have to put effort. Okay, so if you look at this word table, okay, table. Okay, table. Okay, yes. So we focus on the first sound, table. Okay, yes, and that is unstressed. So did you get the meaning of stress and unstressed? So unstressed means where we don't put pressure. Okay, table. Okay, yes. So twinkle. Okay, twinkle. Okay, twinkle, twinkle. Okay, twinkle. How many syllables are there? There are 2. So 2 sound, twinkle. So if you look at that, the stress is on the first sound, twinkle. Twinkle, we don't say like this. Twinkle, okay, twinkle, twinkle. We don't read like this. We read twinkle, twinkle. So do you see the stress? Okay, so these are, this is how the rhythm is maintained by the poet in their line. So here I'm just taking an example of 1 word. Okay, so in a poetry, we have got lines. Okay, yes. So in each line, we have got this. Okay, so 1 stress and 1 unstressed word, it becomes I am. Okay, yes, I am. So you will come across this in when you go to higher classes. So I am. Now, how is that? I am is 1 unit where there is 1 stress and unstressed word, or it can be unstressed and stress. Okay, yes. So there are different patterns, but what for the time being, what I want you to remember is you have to remember the word stress and unstress. Okay, yes, stress and unstress. Because of this stress and unstress, automatically you will see some kind of graph. Okay, there is a 1 beat. So that's why we have this rhythm. Did you understand? Okay, yes. Now let us, in rhythm also, there are so many things. In Tibetan also, okay, yes. So poetry, whenever we learn 1 language, it's important for us to, discuss with the other language. Okay, you take an example of the other language. Okay, yes. So for example, in Tibetan, we have got, Kangri, Rabe, Kowe, Shingamde, Penda, Dewa, Malu, Chungwene. If you see that we have got so many sound, we have got so many rhythm. Okay, the line is maintained. Okay, now I will also take an example of other things. Satya lecture, Kepa lobe tunadu, dewa de la kemesi, dewa chungla chabade, chibu dewa tomasi. You just count the number of the sound we have. So this is also, I'm not talking about English poem. I'm just taking an example from the, Tibetan. Okay, how many sound, how many lines are there? So different poets come up with different lines. Okay, so if you are writing a Tibetan poem also, first you just come up with a very least number of sound. Okay, yes. Namla dochik shube taga nishu paso ngara chigle masa chugul hala puyus. So, okay, so there is also a poem, you see the beat. Okay, if you don't know how to write, you just take that as a mentor text, I told you. Okay. Namla dojik shube daga nishu paso ngaran chigle masa chugul hala puyus. So that is a meta text. Now you just change the word here and there, and your poem will never go wrong. Why? Because you have got 1 beautiful mentor text, a text which will guide you, a text which acts as your teacher. So these are called mentor texts. Okay? Yes. Okay, now the second one is onomatopoeia. Now this is the second, what should I say, literary device used by the poet. Okay, yes. So I told you I'm just discussing all the literary devices related to class 5 and 6, but this can also go on to higher classes. Okay, so what is onomatopoeia? Let us try to see. Onomatopoeia is a literary device whereby we create a word which resembles sounds of different animals or thing or so many things. Okay, example, meow, meow, okay, chirp, buzz. Now these are the sound produced by the animals. So sometimes the poet, they use these, what should I say, the sound, the words which resemble sound. Okay, so they do not come up automatically. Okay, these words are purposely put in his or her poem. Okay, because this is the device. This is again the tool which the poet used to make their, what should I say, poem very beautiful, very pleasant to our ears. You got it? So let us take a look, which will take an example of other things. Okay, onomatopoeia. So onomatopoeia, all the words related to the sounds. Okay, yes, autumn, leaves falling to the ground, rustle, whoosh. So rustle, whoosh, these are the sound when the which are leaves fall. Children running through the leaves, zoom, crunch. Okay, crackle, slur. Okay, bow, bow, says the dog. Mew, mew, says the cat. Okay, yes, onomatopoeia, water plops into the pond, splish, splash down the hill. Now these are the words related to which is the sound. Okay, sound produced by animal or which are things or anything. Okay, so this device is called onomatopoeia. Okay, yes. So it doesn't mean that I told you in the beginning, when it comes to literary device, it doesn't mean that these literary devices should only be used when you write poem. Okay, no, you can use these literary devices, or you can say, I've already told you, figure of speech. Now, these things can be used in your prose. When you are writing a story, when you are narrating something, you can also use this literary device. In fact, whenever you write a small piece of writing, for example, you are writing a narrative writing, the teacher will also see how your writing is on the basis of all the literary devices that you have used. The teacher is going to say, oh, he has used this literary, he has used this literary. He was not supposed to use this. He should be able to use at least this, but he has not used. So these are the way, okay, how the teacher assess your writing. So it's important for you to use this, what should I say, literary devices. Okay, yes. And now I told you onomatopoeia and what should I say, all these things do not, what should I say, stick only to the poem. Okay, you must have seen so many children's books. Now children, they are fond of different kind of sounds and rhythm like this. And so when you were small, I'm sure you have come across all these things. So what is the writer trying to convey here? The writer is trying to convey the sounds, okay, different sounds. So right from your childhood, you are familiar with the sound, you're familiar with the rhythm like this. Now these are the things that you should be knowing, okay, in your lower classes. And if you come across these literary devices at the time being, for the time being, what should I say, the rhythm and the onomatopoeia, now these are the tools that you should be putting in your pocket so that you can use in your right time. Okay, not just a poem. Okay, you read the poem, you study the poem, you memorize that, and then gone. No, you have to take out all these tools. It is these tools which will help you in your later life, whenever you write a poem or whenever you write a piece of writing. Understood? So with this, I've come to the end of my session. So in this session, we talked about the literary devices, and out of all the literary devices in my session, I completed two very simple one, rhythm and onomatopoeia. Okay? Yes. So in the next session, Gitanjula will come up with more literary devices. Okay. Thank you.